In this video, I want to share with you the most important insight that I've ever had. It's the most profound thing about reality that I've ever learned. Growing up, I was taught that I am Winston. I am this body. I am these thoughts. I am my personality and my history. That was instilled in all of us. It seems like just common sense. And it's not really wrong. It's just that this concept of self is missing something vitally important about who we are. Everything is interconnected. That's probably something that you've heard before, right? Many great scientists and philosophers have said it. Great, so what? But it's one thing to be told that everything is interconnected, but it's another thing to really see and feel that that is true. This is one of the main things that the philosopher Alan Watts taught, and he was able to demonstrate this concept using so many great examples. Take black and white, for example. Two things considered to be complete opposites. Yet how would you know black if there were no white? How would you know white if there were no black? If all we could see was black, you would be blind. But if all you could see was white, you would be equally as blind. This is clear from when you read anything. You don't read black letters on a black background or white letters on a white background. You've got to have black letters and a white background, or white letters and a black background. It's the contrast between black and white that manifests them both. And so there's a unity underlying black and white, because you cannot have one without the other. And we see this represented in the symbol of the yin and yang. This principle extends to everything in the universe. Everything can be understood in terms of opposites. Everything on your computer screen is just a collection of zeros and ones. Every neuron in your brain is either firing or not firing, either signaling on or off. Think about the way that you perceive and understand things. The truth is that you can't know up without down, cold without hot, light without darkness, hardness without softness, sound without silence, pleasure without pain, or life without death. All of these go together to create the spectrum of our reality. Think in terms of solid and space. We neglect space thinking it's just nothing at all. But how could you have things without space in which to contain those things? This is why the Heart Sutra says form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. The very fact that you cannot have something without its opposite implies that the two go together, like back and front. The two are one. This principle is known as non-duality. Nothing is separate from anything else. Everything is one. Now, what does this tell us about who you really are? Well, how would you know self without other? You feel there's a big difference between what goes on here, inside of yourself, and the external world. But you must realize there are no outsides without insides, no insides without outsides. In other words, what you call the external world is just as much who you are as your individual self. You are continuous with the external world. As any good scientist knows, you cannot describe an organism without describing its environment, because the two go together. Even if we go to space, we cannot survive unless we take a canned version of the environment with us: oxygen, food, and water. The famous Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh is a master at articulating our interconnectedness. He writes, "If you are a poet, you will see clearly that there is a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there will be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, we cannot make paper. The cloud is essential for the paper to exist. If the cloud is not here, the sheet of paper cannot be here either. And so we can say that the cloud and the paper inter-are. And he further continues, if we look into this sheet of paper even more deeply, we can see the sunshine in it. If the sunshine is not there, the forest cannot grow. In fact, nothing can grow. Even we cannot grow without sunshine. And so we know that the sunshine is also in this sheet of paper. The paper and the sunshine inter-are. And if we continue to look, we can see the logger who cut the tree and brought it to the mill to be transformed into paper. And we see the wheat. We know that the logger cannot exist without his daily bread. And therefore the wheat that became his bread is also in this sheet of paper. And the logger's father and mother are in it too. When we look in this way, we see that without all of these things, this sheet of paper cannot exist. So if everything is connected in this way, if everything is continuous with everything else, then who are you really? Are you the person named on your birth certificate? Is that what defines you? Are you just this body, cut off and apart from the rest of the cosmos? In reality, you don't exist as a separate self. You are not just this collection of thoughts and memories. The real you, underneath all that, is the whole universe, becoming aware of itself through you. The universe sees and feels through you in the same way that your brain sees through your eyes. As Alan Watts put it, you are something that the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is something that the whole ocean is doing. Or as he put it another way, you are an aperture through which the whole universe is looking at and exploring itself. This is the big secret. We are not just tiny individuals lost in a vast, strange, and indifferent universe. We are the vast and strange universe. We are expressions and manifestations of it. You and I, every person, every plant, indeed the whole planet, is the primordial energy of the cosmos manifesting in this particular way. As Watts once said, you are not just a result of the Big Bang. You are still the Big Bang, now. This is just what it looks like 13.7 billion years into it. The mystics of all the great religions of the world have had the realization that we are part of a much larger reality, that we're not who we think we are. Jesus expressed this when he said, I and the Father are one. He expressed it when he said, I am the vine, you are the branches. This is the discovery that we are not this small sense of self. The Buddhists express this with the doctrine of anatta, or no self, which is the concept that there is no separate, permanent, individual self that we can find. In Christianity, there is the concept of kenosis, or self-emptying. It's what the Apostle Paul is talking about when he said, it is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. It's all pointing to the fact that there is no separate self apart from the universe, no self apart from God. When we have this realization, it alleviates our fear. If we know that there's nothing that can separate us from God, then we know that we'll always be part of this universe in one form or another, and we can lose our terror of death. This also becomes the basis for compassion. Love your neighbor as yourself. Realize that your neighbor is yourself. It becomes a lot easier to love the other when you realize there is no other. And it becomes a lot harder to destroy your enemies when you realize that they are a part of you. Underneath all our apparent differences and histories and personalities, the same eternal self is living within us all. That is who we truly are. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if so, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you next time.